Okay, Laura, thank you so much for agreeing to just be open about your story and share what your experience was. We were chatting, if you're watching this later, we were chatting just a couple minutes before I hit record on just like where she started. And hopefully through this, you'll just gain some insight as to if you're considering what the process was like. And if anything, being able to relate to a woman who's dealing with what you're dealing with and knowing that you can totally come out the other side. But yeah, I'm gonna stop ranting and just shift Laura. Hey. Um,
Hi.
Hi. So could you start by sharing like a little bit about yourself and what was going on for you like 4 months ago before we started working together? That just was
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Laura. I was diagnosed with PCOS at like age 19, but I think I've always had symptoms. Like 12, when I was at 12, I got my period, and just since then, I would get extremely heavy cramps. Like I would miss school from how much blood I was like how much blood I was losing. So just no good. And then as I got older, the symptoms progressed and got worse. And that's how I eventually got the PCOS diagnosis. And
Mhm.
as a teenager, as a 19-year-old, I completely ignored it. I was like, like, I don't care. I'm fine. Whatever. And then over the years, after not treating my body very well, drinking, not having a very aligned diet for what I needed, like I've always also been lactose intolerant and very sensitive to dairy, and I ignored that. And just the combination of just stress, not living an aligned lifestyle, PCOS just led to a whole disarray of my body. And it got to the point where I was experiencing just weight gain. I didn't feel pretty anymore. I always have had a flirty, silly personality, and I feel like those parts of me got lost, which is really sad. And just because I felt out of control in my own body, it was just I felt hopeless for a while because I would try yo-yo dieting. I did try 5 types of birth control. I tried an IUD without
Oh,
sedation
wait,
and
five?
five different types over the course of years though, not like back to back.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't
but
remember that.
yeah,
Okay.
but from age I would say 15, 14, 15 to about age 23. I was on
Mhm.
about 5 different types of birth control pills, and I tried the patch as well. None of it worked. Different symptoms, ranging from emotional to weight gain to headaches to just extremely made my periods worse and actually made my skin worse. Since I know a lot of women, it clears a lot of that stuff or masks symptoms, but for me, it actually exacerbated everything. Like it made it significantly worse. Um, so I just felt hopeless because like doctors were telling me that was my only option, but the only option wasn't working. And then I was just going online and taking very generic information and then using it toward myself.
Yeah.
And it just was not working. I ended up gaining more weight, became more unhappy. I had acute stress, high cortisol. I eventually got testing for my hormones, and my progesterone was on the ground low.
Right on the
Yeah,
ground.
on the ground, like straight up. There's like that, you know how there's like a range for the bar? It
Yeah.
was straight up, like almost not less than like what a man would have. Like it was
Oh my
so
gosh.
low. It was like 22, and the normal range was like 120 something. Um,
Right.
yeah, it was just crazy.
Your
And
body was going through it. Your
yeah,
body
just
was really going through it. And can I just like pause real quick?
yeah,
So, like, I don't have PCOS, but I work with enough women who do have PCOS. And like, it's a very common experience to feel in the dark about what's going on with your body. You're like, cool, I have PCOS, but what the heck
now what? Yeah,
is going on?
yeah,
Um, but okay. So that all that stuff was going on. And one thing I want to acknowledge, which I think is probably one of the reasons what led you this way, was like you were trying things relentlessly, which
yeah,
is like amazing. It's like what we have to do. It's like even if you don't know the thing, at least you were like putting your energy in the right direction of like, I'm going to resolve this. So could could you identify like a specific thing of all the array of symptoms for you that made
Yeah.
you go like, oof? Or actually, I don't know what a better question is. If it was a symptom or if it was a certain approach you were looking for, like what, I think that's actually what I'm asking. It's like, what at that point, all transparency, what were you looking for or seeking in that state of like, oh, like I don't feel good in my body. I don't know what's going on. Like, what were you searching for at that point?
Yeah. So I was searching for to move on with my life. Just
Mm.
multiple things in my life actually were changing. And
Mhm.
I'm a very spiritual person, and I could feel this change coming, just career changes, external changes, living situation changes. And I
Yeah.
noticed everything would always loop back to my body. And like I can't, it was hard for me to either like hold a full-time job or put energy toward things that I physically just didn't have at the time. And just all of those roads were just leading back to I will not attract or receive or be able to do these things if I do not fix my body. So I just realized I had a wake up call of just you need to get it together or find a different solution because just the way living life wasn't working for me. I just woke up extremely frustrated and just like, why am I here? And it was
Totally.
very empowering actually seeking help from Noelle because I made the decision that I was going to heal and
Mm.
I was going to get better and that I just would do whatever it took. I got to the point where I was going to do whatever it took to get better because I wanted to move on from my life and move on from
Yeah.
this purgatory of just not healing.
Purgatory.
Yeah.
The way you're describing it, it's like, and I think it's important for women to hear that too. Like sometimes, actually, no, like every time, you got to get to that point.
Oh, yeah.
It's like wherever you're at in your journey, go through your journey, be where you're at. And sometimes you just have to get to that point of just a sense of doneness, but also like urgency.
Yeah.
Like I'm so freaking done. I'm willing to do whatever. Um, but then, okay, that was great. In terms of kind of just painting a picture of where you were. So what specifically, I mean, people probably know we are friends in real life.
Yeah.
But what was it for you that drew you to my approach? And I ask this because it's like I'm big on alignment. Some people with PCOS do really well doing this thing, doing that thing, doing that thing. I
Yeah.
don't think there's a right or wrong way. It's all about like what's going to jive. Could you remember or feel out, or was it just a personal thing around like what drew you to, okay, actually investing and going this route with me?
Yeah. Honestly, it's because I knew Noelle one, obviously to the core. She's an amazing person and is very genuine in her approach and genuinely wants people to heal. But more of just the factual, logical, scientific approach is she works with your body and just doesn't just hand you a diet plan or hand you whatever and you need to heal. It's the individualized approach she takes with her clients that I knew I needed because I had been trying generic information for years and it didn't work. Like I need someone to look at my body, my situation and be like, this is what you need for this situation, not this is what you need for PCOS. This is what
Uh,
you need for your situation. And then I knew Noelle offered that individualized approach.
mm, that's helpful, I think, too, because sometimes I forget to emphasize that in marketing and things like that. It's almost like because it's so obvious to me and to us now, of course you
Yeah.
need a personalized approach. If you have PCOS, sure you have PCOS, but you need your body is unique. The foods are going to work for you, the supplements are going to work for you. But that's like not common knowledge yet. So I'm glad you brought that up. The personalized approach. And then when it came down to us actually working together, what do you feel like were big, like one or two things that really got the ball rolling for you in the right direction?
telling me what I actually needed to do for PCOS, which is a metabolic syndrome that we're not told about. Like it's not just a reproductive thing. It does affect your reproduction, but to the core, PCOS is a
Metabolic.
metabolic issue. So
Yep.
I think instead of like focusing on a lot of approaches that PCOS does of what do you need to get pregnant, which is valid, but that's not what I was looking for. And more of how do I heal to the core and heal these symptoms that I'm feeling and just putting my PCOS at bay. And like Noelle told me what I needed to do, like supplements wise, activity level wise, and even mindset and stress level wise, which is a lot that people I think miss sometimes is you can be doing the best diet plan for you. You could be doing the best exercise plan, but if you're not getting sleep and you're actively stressed, like your body is releasing a lot of cortisol in an actively stressed state, you're not going to heal. And I needed someone to tell me you can't out diet plan your poor sleep. You can't outrun your active stress.
Yeah. Just like the holistic piece. Totally. Totally. Um, for you diet wise, I think with PCOS, like diet, when we go the natural route, my perception is that
Yeah.
there's a lot of generic information and there's some really good information like gluten-free or dairy-free. Um, did you feel like you came into working together with any confusion around diet? And like, how did that change working together?
Yeah. So I was dairy and gluten free beforehand, but I was really missing out on the carb and sugar piece. I
Mm,
think was what helped me. I did know that you're supposed to eat lower carb, but I didn't realize like how to do that with my own body. And I
mm,
also in the past I did have disordered eating where I would eat too little, etc. in that area. So I
yeah.
also wanted it to come from a place of doing it for my health, but also literally just doing the right. I didn't know how to figure out how much carb intake I had. And with tweaking with Noelle, and then she specifically telling me what symptoms to look for, whether I'm eating too much or too little. Like, oh, if you're eating too many carbs, you're gonna feel fatigued. It's like I needed someone to tell me those very specific things rather than eat 100 grams of carbs per day. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, someone with PCOS honestly could be fine with 150. Some women are 30.
Yep.
It just is so dependent on your body. And I needed someone to tell me what to look for and just how to tweak that properly and do it in a healthy manner.
Like almost like connect the dots in a way. Because like you had a lot of pieces actually coming in. Like
Yeah.
you actually had a lot of awareness, a lot of things that you had tried. Like basically it was like, here's the box of puzzle pieces. And
Yeah.
I felt like it was this, okay, wait, this is actually great. We just need to like put them together. And I say that too because I think it could be very frustrating and almost like we can make it about us when we are trying so hard
Yeah.
and the puzzle pieces are just not fitting together and we feel like, what's wrong with me? And
Yeah.
sometimes you just need like an outside eye to go, oh, like like you can't see the jar that we're in. Just
Yeah.
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 Um,
Totally.
so let's talk about the juicy part. So we've been talking about PCOS, and I forgot to ask directly. It's like, what was your number one goal slash goals? I think what we can do instead is kind of just cut to how did your body change? How did your mind change or shift
Yeah.
through this process? And could you also share a bit of the timeline?
Yeah. Okay. So when I started, I felt honestly like I didn't have a lot of control over my body. In the beginning of my PCOS journey, I felt I was at zero. And I would say I was about 30% when I started working with Noelle because I did gain the courage to be like, okay, I need to take control of this. So I had a little bit going in. But as I was working with her and seeing weight loss results, brain fog disappear, lighter periods or less cramps, just all the symptoms that I was experiencing go away, it's like that would build up. And then when you feel like you have more control and you're more aligned with your body, then the magic happens. Like your mindset gets better. And then with that mindset change, you're more able to make those changes properly. So it's like a catalyst. It's like all this stuff I had lost, honestly, during those years of struggle, they were slowly being built back, and I was slowly being able to go back to habits that I needed to form. Like, I've never been a weightlifter. I was actually a swimmer. But I realized for my body, I need to be lifting weights. And I lacked that my entire life. And that's something that I needed to learn. But when I felt so uncontrolled with my body, I'm like, why would I go lift weights? I feel
Yeah.
like shit. I don't want to do that. That's the
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to do. But as I was building the confidence and abilities, then I like this stuff just flowed in with ease and less
Mm,
resistance too. Like at the end of the day, we're always gonna probably have resistance to something that's new. But
right.
instead of being at 100% resistance, I don't want to do this. I was at like at 20%. I was like, I don't, I'm a little scared. I don't want to do it. But it's easier to push from a 20% resistance rather than a completely having to talk yourself into doing something that you don't want to do. So it's just the holistic of ability of just feeling in control of your body and then seeing it also leak into other parts of your life too.
Mm, like I love that. I love that because I think at the end of the day, like what we want is we want to just like feel good in our life. But like the
Yeah.
body stuff is what bothers us. So you mentioned, and I want to just hone in on this piece because I know it's top of mind for women in the midst of the PCOS stuff.
Yeah.
The physical pieces for you. For you, was it skin? Was it weights? Like, what were the physical body pieces that you were like deep down going, this is what I want to start moving in the right direction? And what exactly shifted?
Yeah. So about a year ago, actually, I started to change my skin. I think it was a year and a half ago. I had struggled with acne from age 15 onward to about age 25.
Mm.
So acne was a huge one. Weight gain, I gained about 50 pounds, which was a lot. I have a pretty small frame. So 50 pounds was like 50% of my body weight at that point. Um, and yeah, just those are the main physical symptoms. And then fatigue, just low
Fatigue.
energy. So those were the main three. And over the course of the time I worked with Noelle, it was honestly, it wasn't like right away as things take change and like after years of my body fighting itself, it was gonna need some time to release. But over the course, I was able to lose 20 pounds, which is amazing. Like I literally felt like it was impossible for me to lose weight, no matter how little I ate, no matter how little sugar I ate, whatever I was doing.
And
So
that
that
was
was
3
beautiful.
months of time.
Yeah, that was,
Three
yeah,
months.
yeah, 3 months. That's not that long. And frankly, I didn't have a crazy exercise routine. I think I'd go to the gym for like 20, 30 minutes to lift some weights and then walk my dog for a bit. So a lot of it was mostly just diet and supplements and honestly like focusing on stress relief
Mm,
and all of that.
mm. Like that's such a big piece because I think a lot of women who resonate with my work, it's like they don't really care about a size or a number on the scale per se. They just like want
Yeah.
to get back to the body that they know I feel good in. Like this is my healthy body. So to
Yeah.
see such a physical shift
Yeah.
was insane for me. Like to watch that just release off,
Yeah.
especially because like you weren't on this like exercise regime
Yeah.
and like macro counting
Yeah.
plan.
That just energy doesn't align with me. Like I know it works for some people, but I just knew that I needed more of like a separate focus.
Mm. And okay, next after question is like, okay, you release that way, your energy's back, like in you that dominoed into the life stuff and just kind of feeling like, ooh, I'm like my spicy self again. Um, I think a big question for women is like, okay, because of either past dieting or something. It's like, okay, if I do this or I lose the weight or I do this protocol, it's like, but how do I maintain it? Or like, is this like a forever thing? Like, could you paint a picture a little bit of like where are you at now with like your lifestyle slash like food relationship? Like, how are you making it? Basically, how are you making it work? Like in your
Yeah.
everyday life?
No, it's a great question. In all honesty, I feel more free with food than I do now when I was actually like eating whatever I wanted when I was in my young 20s. Um, it's coming more from a place of like I know what I need and I'm not going to fully diverge to the oblivion off of that. I don't feel the need anymore to have have a cheat week or
Mm,
just along that energy. I don't feel the need to do that. Like I realized my diet has just gotten really balanced. And I was
Mm.
in New York a few weeks ago and I was trying like a maple latte. And just for context, I don't eat a lot of sugar or any, especially during the week, I don't eat any refined sugar.
Mhm.
And I'm in New York, I'm trying a maple latte. My brother and I shared a cannoli, and it's that. I felt like it was okay to share rather than like, this is a huge treat. I want my own thing. I
Yeah.
genuinely was like, I just want to taste this. This looks so good. And I got the same mental fulfillment off of having half of one than I did the full. And even yesterday, I'm more able to balance my meals with things that I want to try or want to eat that day, along with also like fitting in my health and fitness goals. Yesterday, I had half of a croissant sandwich, but then I put egg and turkey bacon and an avocado on top and had a protein shake on the side because I try to eat high protein,
Yeah.
lower carb. And then I'm more able to balance my meals. And then for lunch, I cut the rice serving in half since I had that croissant. And like it may sound a little jumbled externally, but when you're physically doing it now, because I've been doing this for a few months now, it just becomes part of the habit. And then I also realize I really love to do this because then I feel good. It's that
Mm.
feeling that you get. Like the feeling becomes more important than that need to overeat or overindulge. Like I no longer want to overindulge because I don't want to feel like crap again. I
Yeah.
can overindulge and I choose to not to because I choose to feel good.
Yeah. Wow. And like, I think too, it's like you were so willing in the beginning, like week one, to go all in. And when I say all in, it's just like, tell me what to do and I'll like get going with
Yeah.
the diet, with the supplements, all of that. And because of that, you had a period of time where we're like, okay, remove this for a while and replace with this diet wise.
Yeah.
In the name of rebalancing, you
Yeah.
came with the right mindset and your body did its rebalancing. And what's so wonderful is like when your body has released some of that inflammation and like your gut is kind of reset, you like no longer vibrate at the same level of like, oh, I need a cheat month. Like I need a cheat week. Like
Yeah.
you're saying, it's
Yeah.
like nothing
Yeah.
morally wrong with that. It's like you just don't care for it. But who
Yeah.
doesn't like a croissant? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I would like half a
And
croissant.
frankly, I notice I'm not as gluten sensitive. I definitely do still have a sensitivity. And a
Mhm.
lot of it was when I felt like I had to have that cheat, I was overeating the product. And if you overeat anything, even if it was a gluten-free croissant, if I ate two gluten-free croissants in one sitting with no protein as a PCOS woman, I'm gonna crash. That's still a lot of carbs
Yeah.
for my body. So I realized it wasn't even just like my intolerance. It was like I'm literally just eating too much for my body. And it's like when you take off that layer of like, okay, I can just have whatever I want within reason, and I'm
Yeah.
able to have this full gluten, flaky, buttery croissant, and I cut it in half, or even a full one would have been fine.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like it that day. I just didn't even get the symptoms that I used to. Like I used to have 2 bites of gluten and feel 9 months pregnant. But since I
Totally.
rebalanced my gut, I'm able, like, I didn't have a single symptom. And I ate dairy, which for Noelle, she knows I've had dairy issues since we were teenagers. And I
Literally.
didn't have, I didn't have a single reaction. So it's just beautiful to see your body being able to um, just process these foods and have no symptoms. And also just mentally knowing the gray area of, I can try a cannoli. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to eating dairy 3 times a day. And because my body doesn't need that. My body doesn't react well to that. But it's like my
Yeah.
body can now process one meal with dairy
It's like
in a week.
this whole thing is just giving like I understand my body.
Yeah.
Like I think for everybody, like me included, it's an ongoing journey because we age, we get older, like things happen. We're always learning, but it's this really like, are we good on time? We're good on
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah,
12.
we're good.
Yeah. Um, Laura agreed to do this during a work day, so that's why I'm checking. Um, But yeah, it's just this sense of I understand what my body needs and I feel good. And because of that, it's like a positive feedback loop. And
Yeah.
it's it's so beautiful to see and how fast it can happen. None of it's a race, but I think it's so expansive for women to
Oh,
hear when they're like, have been dealing with this their whole freaking life.
yeah.
And seeing somebody go
Seriously.
like, oh, wait, that's possible. And not just possible over like a 10-year journey, but you got in control over the course of a few months, which is really badass. Um,
Thank you.
but it is. And let me just say too, it's like I give the whole thing, it's like 90% Laura, 10% guidance. Truly. And if you're watching this going, like thinking about it all, know that she came in knowing that she didn't have to be perfect, but she was ready, like all in. There's no diet plan, there's no supplement, there's nothing what's going to do everything for you.
No.
Which, if you're here, you're probably not thinking that way, but just emphasizing that point, it's like the perfect mix of when you have clear guidance and you have the right energy, it's like you're unstoppable.
Yeah. No, seriously. It's the combo of both. And I actually did work with Noelle when I wasn't ready a few years ago. And I didn't see the results I want because frankly, putting myself on blaster, I didn't listen to her. Like she gave me a specific instructions and I didn't listen to her. And that's where my mindset was. And I ended up back where I was before. And that was that when I was choosing to work with Noelle now, I'm like, I could see those mistakes I made last time of not listen. I asked for guidance and didn't take it. And I'm just like, I am not doing that again. If I choose to work with her again at the time when I was choosing, I'm going all in. I want change. And that
You
like when
did.
yeah, when I started, honestly, that past self, like that past not doing the change wasn't even in my universe, in my mind,
Yeah.
because it just became so like inherent of like, I want change. I can't live like this anymore. That I had minimal resistance to following Noelle's instructions. So when you're ready and when you choose to make a change for yourself, like it's truly magical what you can do. And just you have empathy for your past self, but also realize like those actions are no longer serving you. And in order to heal, you need to choose to heal your current self.
I love it. I love it. Um, I want to wrap up with just like tying it back to the life piece and body's back in balance, feeling good. Like, is there, I have two questions. I'm trying to decide which one. Um, is there anything exciting or just special to you that you feel has like come through for you since
Yeah.
these personal body changes as a little extra like boom to the girls who are like in it right now?
Yeah. Honestly, I got the audacity, we would say, but I got the courage to put myself out there more. And I realized a huge block for me was because I didn't feel pretty and aligned to my body. I wasn't putting myself out there in every situation, dating, career, just frankly, just asking for things. I wasn't putting myself out there. And while I was doing this because I felt like I had more control over my body and more aligned within myself, um, I called in an aligned relationship. I'm killing it at work and honestly may do a career pivot, but now I feel like I'm fully equipped to handle that rather than this like awkward purgatory of being back and forth within things. And honestly, I'm currently like, you're just feel more able to handle some things within your life. Like right now, my apartment honestly has mold in it that I called in, and instead of flipping, flipping
Yeah.
my noodle and just feeling so ungrounded, I'm like, okay, like I am safe and I can handle this. And just feeling that, okay, I changed my body from being pretty effed up to feeling healthier again. I can handle just changing an apartment in the same city. Like all
Oh
these
my
things
gosh.
feel
Yeah.
smaller. They feel less like in your face and feel less like life changing and big because you did tackle the big thing. That was a huge block in your life. So
Oh.
if you're out there, like just know PCOS fucking sucks. One, but two, PCOS, honestly, I see it now that I'm getting to the other side. Of course, it's a lifelong condition, but just better being able to manage it. It's been a blessing to me because I don't know if I would have learned to put myself out there like I have now and learn to get this confidence within myself without having PCOS there to push me into that energy and that mind space. So, there's help out there and you got this.
Laura, you're amazing on like so many different levels. Um, but that last piece, thank you for sharing that. Because I think truly, if people were to like just meet you in real life, you could speak to the whole PCOS thing with such genuine understanding. This
Yeah.
meant so much that you were willing to talk about your health journey. And my hope again is that if you have PCOS, you got something out of this. Know that Laura worked with me one-on-one. You work with me one-on-one. I also have self-paced guides. And again, if anything, just use this as your inspiration, your fire to keep going, get your body back in balance because it's so possible. Be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, but also like do the dance. Know when you have to get a little bit tough, like tough love with yourself, as Laura so
Yeah.
gracefully explained. Um, but that
Sometimes you got to.
is thank you so much, Laura. And all the links and things will be under this video. So yeah, I'm gonna hit stop.